Cool. Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening for our first ever Boccia Development Advisory Webinar of 2021. I hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. My name is George, and along with Kate, will be your host for this evening's webinar. I am delighted to welcome you to Boccia England's Boccia Development Advisory Webinar, supporting online club engagement. This is the first in a series of 5 webinars which we will be delivering over the next few months to support you and the members of all clubs throughout the current coronavirus pandemic, with our return to Boccia and beyond.
Staying engaged with members, volunteers, coaches and parents throughout this strange and unprecedented period is vitally important. It helps them to feel that they are still part of the club, and for many can help reduce social isolation. The level of communication and what is realistic will differ for each club, but your members will appreciate any efforts to engage with them. 3 clubs who have stayed engaged with their members online throughout the pandemic over the last year are Nottinghamshire Boccia Club, Gem Boccia and Jigsaw Berry. This evening, we're pleased to be joined by Pete Edwards and Kate Dewhurst from Nottinghamshire Boccia Club and Georgina Moore from Gem Boccia, and they will be telling you how their club have kept engaged with their members over the past 10 months, what activities were well received by their members, and will be sharing advice on how you can keep engaged online with your members over the next few months. Unfortunately, Ellen from Jigsaw Berry can't be with us this evening. However, she's kindly sent her responses in advance, so we'll share these after the webinar. We want to make this webinar interactive and for you to get involved. Therefore, if you've got any questions for the panelists throughout this webinar, feel free to put them in the chat box at the bottom of the screen, and they'll answer as many questions as possible at the end.
Now, let's meet our guest panelists for this evening and find out a bit more about their clubs. Starting with Kate and Pete and George, please can you introduce yourself and provide a bit of background about your club?
Yeah, my name's Pete Edwards, although on here I'm as Eddie, because I understand there's another Pete somewhere around. I'm part of Nottinghamshire Boccia Club. History of the club, it's been around since the mid-90s, and it used to be part of Notts County Council Sports Disability Unit, and it was the Boccia Elite Squad. And at that point, the people had to be eligible to be able to play under the pathway. I got involved as part of my sports development role in 2002. So I've been involved with the club coming up to 19 years now, and I was the manager as part of my job. But then a few years later, we were told that because of cuts, we had to become a community club. So we applied for a lot of funding, 10 grand from county council, so that we could convert to a community club. And then we got some funding through Aiming High, so that we could buy equipment, particularly wheelchairs, for players to the tune of about 37,000. And we've gone from strength to strength. So for the last 15 years, it's been a community club, and we moved to Joseph Whittaker School, became a partner of the school, and we use the whole of the sports hall. And we currently have about 23 members active and registered, with a couple that are on long-term sick because of operations. Also in the club, we have a base of volunteers and coaches. So Kate and Christina and Jack are the coaches, along with myself, and Sarah Dunster, who used to be a former player, I might add. And then we've got some volunteers as well that help with that. And the club itself has grown from strength to strength, and we do a lot of social stuff when we were mixing, but unfortunately because of the pandemic we're not been able to do that, but more about what we have done a bit later on. So I'll hand over to Kate now.
Thanks, Pete. Yep, so I'm a lead coach at Nottinghamshire Boccia Club. I originally started the club back in 2007, nearly 14 years ago, when joining secondary school. Boccia was a sport I could do and was able to do, and found Nottinghamshire Boccia Club and competing with schools competitions. I worked my way up and soon became coach and team manager, and I now lead sessions in Pete's absence.
She does.
Thanks, Ken and Pete. Georgina?
George, and I set up Gem Boccia Club nearly 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago. And I didn't pick up a boccia until just 4 years ago. And I realised that it's a sport that anyone can play, no matter their ability. So my first boccia club was like half an hour away, which is quite a long way. So I just thought I'm going to set up my own club in my community. So I set up Jam Boccia Club, and my carer, Tom here, is the coach. He's qualified coach. And I play boccia anyway. I'm in the academy and I'm a BC4. And we're in South Gloucestershire. I think that's about it.
Which is just outside Bristol. Yeah. So when we tend to run the sessions between it, and me and George will handle different things. And then we have up to about, I suppose we've got about 20 registered members, haven't we? And maybe 15 a week turn up. A large volunteer base, got trained referees. We have quite a range of people to pick from to help out. Got 3 players in the academy now in 4 years, which is pretty good going. And George's ambition is Paralympic Games, isn't it?
That's great. Thank you for introducing ourselves. Moving on to our first question of the evening, and that is, please can you tell me what all clubs have done over the last year to keep engaged with our members, with the members of the boccia clubs during the coronavirus pandemic? And for this question, we'll go in the same order as just a moment ago, starting with Pete and Kate.
We've been keeping in touch via WhatsApp. So we set a group up for all the parents, not the players, for the parents, and also for the committee. And all throughout, we've sent messages asking how people are, and Kate's been asking them to send photographs in, and we've been putting them on our Facebook page as well. And then we've had a few social things which I'll let Kate talk about because she tends to organise most of them. We've had meetings with players and parents via Skype when we talked about going back playing, which was last September, when we were ready to go, and with the information that George and the team sent out about going back and risk assessments and all things like that. We sent everything to the school and got the backing to go back. We'd got plans of who was going to come, because people were going to come alternate weeks rather than have a mass. And the fact that we've got 4 courts that we can use gave us a chance to get as many people there as possible. But unfortunately, after all that planning and talking to them and sort of psyching people up and psyching ourselves up to go back, of course, it didn't happen, which is sad. And then we was planning to start again in the new year. And again, we talked about the plans, contacted the school, and everything was fine. Got the risk assessments in and all that. Players were excited about coming back, and then wham bam, no chance of going back. So I'll let Kate talk about some of the things we've done socially. One thing we did do though, because we do it every Christmas, I went out and got them. We bought a lot of selection boxes. Kate designed a front for a Christmas card. I did the writing inside and printed them all off, and then we sent Christmas cards and selection boxes out, even to siblings. So we made sure that siblings got them as well, and sent them out through the post. And thankfully, everybody received them, so that was good. Although one family, apparently, it went to Worksop before it actually came back to Mansfield. But hey, that's the postal service, so it was good. So that's just some of the stuff we've been doing. So I'll let Kate share the social stuff, because Kate's sort of led on all that.
Thanks, Pete. So yes, back in March when we initially went into lockdown, Boccia stopped, and for a lot of our players that meant they lost the social aspects of seeing other people, as so many went into shielding. So we started off with one Saturday a month, we'd have an hour call, and I'd planned something fun. So we started off, the first thing was bingo. So everyone generated, parents and carers obviously assisted, and they made a 4x4 grid and were asked to put numbers between 1 and 50 in each box. I then sat here with 50 pieces of paper and pulled them all out of a hat, and it was a totally random game of bingo. But there was that competitive element that so many people enjoy through Boccia, that they were all trying to compete to get their full house first. Mr. Edwards did win.
Yeah, it was
hold that against him. And then as time progressed in the committee meetings, we were planning on going back. It became to hit home that we weren't going back. So we needed to give our guys some structure. So we decided to move our Saturday socials back to a Thursday night when we train. And that became the launch of the Back to Boccia socials. They are every 2 weeks. Again, it's a Zoom link like this. Everyone gets to join in, and it's either quizzes or bingo or some sort of fun game. So we've had Boccia related quizzes, we've had bingo, we've had show and tell, which has enabled so many people to tell us something that they didn't know, or something they've done through lockdown, whether it be a new hobby or anything like that. They've been able to share that with the group they would normally do on a Thursday night when they turn up to club. At Christmas, to go with the selection boxes, we did a Christmas party. It's tradition at Notts Boccia Club that we have a full-blown Christmas party with music, dancing, buffet, everything. So we did it Zoom style, including a Christmas quiz, which was all things Christmas related. Not an ounce of Boccia in sight, apart from the fact it was only Boccia people on the call. And we've done logo quizzes. I've then put that onto our Facebook to engage people back into it and to get us to compete against members of the public that follow us on Facebook and to get our name out there. And I must say the last one was Two Truths and a Lie, which again gave the guys the opportunity to tell us things about themselves that others wouldn't necessarily know. It's great to see them laugh so much, and I just can't wait for us all to get back. I think our guys are very desperate to get back, aren't they, Pete?
They are desperate. I'm desperate to get back. Never mind them. You know. So, in all, it's been very good. We've not had every single player there, although we've had the bulk of them. Even those at university have contacted them, stayed in touch, and we've got Seamus and Sam, who are both at university. And when we've been doing these socials, their parents have said, yeah, they definitely want to come. We've tried to say, really, do we need to have them in? But anyway, they've come anyway. So we do have a very big fun element. And as we do when we're at club, although we do train seriously, we have quite a bit of fun element. And we've tried to put that into what we've been doing with these socials as well. We did have also a session where we had parents and players together for them to share with us their concerns and how they were feeling about the situation or things like that. So we're also thinking about their health and well-being and about their mental well-being as well. So it gives us a picture. And I think these socials that Kate organises, are so important for the players because it keeps that connectivity and the fact that we're still interested in them as people, not just as players. And I think that's very important for them to understand that. And we do get a lot of feedback, and we still get a lot of the old sayings, like Esther. If Kate says something funny, she'll go, "Oh, Kate," and things like that. So keeping them, motivated and involved and all that is very important.
That's a great kind of Peter and Kate. Georgina, do you want to respond?
Yeah. So as soon as the first lockdown happened in March, I immediately started weekly Boccia challenges, which we put on social media because we wanted everyone to realise that you can still do Boccia at home, but with household objects. So we did that for a few months up until the summer. And then we hoped that the summer would happen and then we might go back later in the year to Boccia. but it's very difficult for me because I'm classed as clinically extremely vulnerable. So I'm at huge risk. So I've got to be careful. And obviously Tom's my carer, so he has to be with me. So if we're not there, the club can't run anyway. So it's very difficult for us, and I won't be restarting until I know it's 100% safe and we've had the vaccine, etc. So apart from that, we did a couple of things with Access Sport, which are a charity that help sport for disadvantaged people. We did an online session with that, didn't we?
We did, yeah, and it works quite well because luckily, because I'm pretty much minimize my contact with people, I just see George pretty much. We're lucky that there's a double team, so we can kind of feed off each other, and George will introduce it, and then the camera will pan to me, and I'll introduce the challenge, and back to George, and we have a bit of a laugh and joke about it. So it keeps it fresh and entertaining when you kind of selling the sport boccia and giving it a positive image outside of our circle and within the circle.
But yeah, apart from that, it's not, a lot of our members have learning disabilities, and they don't manage with online engagement very well. There's no way they would do things like Zoom. So they're better one-on-one. So I often talk to them on Facebook Messenger to check they're okay, or I email everybody. Tom's had a couple of conversations on the phone with members to check that they're okay.
I talk about PS4 and PS5 with the guy for about an hour every month. Keep them entertained.
Yeah, so apart from that, we haven't been able to do much else. I've tried to get people engaged in the Rainbow Cup, but apart from sharing it and doing it myself, there's not a lot else I can do. You know, I can't force people to do it. So that's what our efforts have been.
You play pretty much every day yourself, me and you for half an hour. Keep yourself drilled, which is good for your personal. But we almost quit while we're ahead a little bit to stop it getting tired, because we've hit about 12. Was it 12 we hit, George? In the videos that we did.
Oh, the challenges.
Yeah.
We did a lot.
We did about 12, and then we kind of like thought it was time to sort of knock it on the head then, because you can sort of overstretch, overstay your welcome and stretch things. But you're reposting them at the moment, aren't you? So keep people's minds on boccia. It's hard when the end keeps getting further away, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we all thought it would be over within a few weeks initially, didn't we? And it's just gone on, and here we are again. So thank you very much for your responses, all of you. It's great to hear about the different ways that your clubs have kept engaged with members during the pandemic. Next, we're going to find out from our panel which of their activities were well received by their members and which activities, if any, weren't as well received. We'll also be finding out if they'll be carrying on with any of their online activities once the pandemic is over. This time, Georgina, if you're happy, we'll come to you first, and then we'll go to Pete and Kate.
I think I've kind of answered, sorry. Obviously, like I said, our members don't engage with video chat and things like that. They prefer one-on-one, and as far as the challenges we did, I have no idea whether any of them engaged with it. They don't really say. I think one of our members, Steve, did it a couple of times.
Yeah, Steve was the guy that was so Access Sport, which are, I don't know if you know, they're a national organisation for disadvantaged adults and children, and they ran a whole day with challenges of people doing different sports. And Steve was the only person that was there for the whole day, every session, and he's quite able though. That's the most able of our people. But apart from that, it's pretty limited. So whereas our club is generally more physically able than others, we struggle with the other side of it. So it can be quite one way, can't it? Sometimes we could never have a Zoom session with them all participating. I mean, you speak with some of the parents directly, don't you? And some of the people are verbally challenged as well. So again, that kind of rules them out from online video chat. So they're the best we can, can't we? You tend to run the social media on Facebook, don't you? You put posts on Facebook, and generally the parents will pick them up. They are watching, even though they might not be commenting. In terms of when we might bring it back, maybe we'll film a few of our matches, maybe do a live stream.
Lovely, thank you. Pete and Kate, anything from you?
I like to think we are going to keep these going because it's beneficial for us, not as much as what it is for the players as well, to keep in that contact. I think at some point, although we have these fun elements and fun quizzes, we will start looking at sort of a quiz around some of the basic rules to do with boccia, so that it keeps their mind active around that. We do ask them, and Kate asks them quite a lot about sending pictures of things that they're doing, and quite often, particularly the twins, Jasmine and Bethany, will get pictures from mum saying this is what they were doing at 2 o'clock this morning, and they're in the passageway playing boccia, you know, so in their house, and it's interesting and things like that. And we have one or two others that say that they keep practicing stuff and all things like that. So I think it's very important that we do keep in touch. And I noticed on the questions that Sandra's asked for a breakdown of impairments and their level of participation and their classification. I would say out of the 24 people we've got, 22 of them have all got some level of cerebral palsy. But along with that, they've also got, we've got 4 people that are profoundly deaf as well. We've got another one that's got cerebral palsy but got sight problem. We've got a young man that's got autism and learning disability, autism being prowess. And then another one that's is spinal cord injury round about T7. So we've got a variant of disabilities. Most of them are wheelchair users. There are odd couple that walk. We've got one young man who's got dwarfism, but he's got achondroplasia as well, so all his joints are damaged and all that through the condition. So he's plays under a physical disability and things like that. We have a couple that have also got global development delay as well, which gives some traits of cerebral palsy in the fact that their reactions are the same. So they do have touches of ataxia and athetosis, you know. So although it's not cerebral palsy, there's traits of it in that sense. So that's also a physical disability. So yeah. So I don't know about you, Kate.
I think going back to the question of what we want to continue, I think the one I want to continue is that social aspect. So yes, we may be going back to being back on court every week, but whether we can do once in 4 weeks, it's a social night, just to see the laughter and the fun they've had, and the fun I've had generating these daft activities that I sit here at all hours going, shall we do? You know, it's been absolutely fantastic. And I think one thing I do want to continue is we've become more present on Facebook over the pandemic, and I want to bring that to us. So it is at competitions that we can be in contact with people that follow us on Facebook, so they can see what we're doing live. And going back onto your comment about back to boccia, Pete, you weren't at the last session, but we've kind of planned a reflection session. Okay. So although we're not going back into boccia exactly, but what would they like to get from boccia when we come back? So we can be still orientated around them. We have session plans and we have training ideas, but it ultimately has got to come from what they want. And that best way is for us to ask them. And it's the perfect time to be asking, what can we do to help you?
Yeah, I agree.
Great, yeah, that's really interesting to hear. It's all about activity. We're obviously intend to carry on once the pandemic is over. And finally, my final question is it tonight the current lockdown can last for a couple more weeks, if not months? So my closing question to the panel this evening is, based on my experience over the last 10 months, what advice or tips would you give to every club or group for staying engaged with their members over the next few months? And for this question, we'll start with Kevin P and followed by Georgina.
I think for me, the advice I give is just keep going. You'll get some people that will not interact with you because we've had it. I can name several that do not want to be interacting, and that's absolutely fine. Everyone's taking this pandemic totally differently. You know, we all have days where we don't want to be at the outside world. But I think just keep persevering. You might not get anything back, but they might thank you in the long run. And yes, it's hard to keep going and be hit with brick walls, but just keep going. The guys need you and you need them. It's part of our routine, this Boccia. And I think we've just got to keep as much as a routine as we possibly can.
And I think you're absolutely right there, Kate, because we're a very sociable club as well, and it's very family orientated. And as well as the players being part and parcel of how we run, we also give a voice to the parents. And we have a committee as well, which are made up of mostly parents. And it's interesting to listen to them and the drive that they've got. But we always stress to the parents as well that it is about the players. It's not about us as coaches or them as parents. It's about them as players. And it's about the things that they want to do and enjoy. And when we do get back to normality, one of the biggest things I'd like to do, because we did this a couple of years ago, we actually went for a meal as a whole club, and then we went to the theatre afterwards. And that was fantastic. And when we have our awards night, we actually use the local pub who put on a spread for us. Yes, we pay for it, but they put this spread on, and the whole pub's shut, and all that's in there is us. And it's a fantastic night and a great night, you know, just to talk about general things rather than saying, you know, we're here to train and things like that. So I agree with Kate. We need to keep that connectability, because if we don't, we can lose what we've got, and that's not what we want to do.
That's great. Georgina, do you want to go?
Okay. Basically, I'll just reiterate what Kate said about the importance of just trying to reach out to people despite not really getting anything back. And I think it's important to treat everyone as individual, not a club as a whole, because everyone is so different. You know, I'll have members that will talk to me all the time on Facebook chat, and that's fine. But like you say, some people just don't want to engage. So you just need to treat each individual as different and just keep reminding them that we are thinking about them and we are thinking about Boccia and the club, and that as soon as we can start again safely, we will start again. And it's out of all our hands. We can't do anything about it, but that's all you could do, really.
Yeah, tailor your communication to each individual group, or even individuals that I've said I speak to one guy on the phone. He has a fairly good grasp of it, but he's very optimistic and seems to think every few months it's just a month or so away and we're all going to be fine. But it's kind of, you can't really bring people down too much. You've got to manage people's expectations, but just got to keep them. It's better to have some hope than for them to lose all sense of hope and feel like it's never going to come back. So kind of just managing it in small steps and say we'll be back soon. Keep it. Yeah, that's all you can do.
Lovely. Thank you, all of you, for the useful advice, which I'm sure other clubs will find really helpful. It's really interesting to hear the sort of challenges that you're faced with and all the different ways that you're overcoming that in terms of individual needs and really responding to that. So now it's time for the panel to answer everybody else's question that's been listening in. It's great to see we've had lots of questions coming in, and I know, Dan, you've been sort of going through and collating them. I'm wondering, given it's such a small group, whether it might be worth unmuting and even turning videos on if people want to, if they're comfortable with that, and have a bit of discussion that way. I don't know how other people feel. That might be a good way to do it, but thank you for all the questions. We'll start working out how we do that, whether reading those out or opening them up, and then panel can respond to those.
I don't think we can turn on the videos. We can only.
Okay, webinar. Okay.
So what are people talking about? We can unmute people.
Okay.
So
So if people want to be unmuted, perhaps we
anyone
can
who
put
be
hands up
unmuted,
using.
put a hand up or say something in the chat, and we can unmute you.
Just while you're sort of putting those messages in, obviously been going through some of the comments and questions that have been coming through the chat or coming directly to me. And some of the comments have included things around having a club newsletter that have included crosswords and word searches and pictures, or picture games and things like that. So there's some other ideas that have been shared by some of the people that have been attending. Some of the questions that have come in, so you've mentioned between the three of you around competition, and competition within members or within your group. How else outside of like the challenges that the Knots guys have been doing and the games that you've been setting, Georgina, how else can you sort of set a competition element to your members, do you think?
I set one for our Facebook page. So although it wasn't a member specific, it went on our Parents Carer WhatsApp, that I gave them a challenge to get us up to 500 followers. We are a long way off, but I thought with the power of the 23 families and friends that we have, that it may be possible to spread us sort of to be more well known. You know, we are quite a big club in aspect, Pete, and we're quite well known on the circuit. But just to spread our ideas and how we're getting on and almost offer that moral support over social media.
Thank you. George, have you got anything you want to add? It's fine if not. It's fine if not.
The only thing I was thinking of doing was asking members to design like a t-shirt for the club or something, like a creative thing like that. Because with my crafts, I can make the t-shirt myself, but I was going to ask them to do a design, but I don't know whether any of them would be interested.
I love that idea, George. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
we did something similar a few years back, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
We got everyone to design our logo, didn't we, Pete?
We did, yes.
So, and then the winner got, and their winner logo is. So it may not be that they would potentially, you know, be seen to be doing it, but I guarantee you get a couple get creative.
All right, maybe I'll try it.
Yeah, and I think that's really nice to sort of draw on other people's skill sets. So not just their boccia or general knowledge or their interaction. Other people have got other skill sets. So that's really nice. Kate, you've just mentioned about social media and using social media through Notts Boccia Club, and Georgie mentioned it beforehand. How do you see social media being part of promoting, one, your clubs, and two, the wider sort of sport of boccia, and how do you see social media playing a part in that?
I think for us at Notts Boccia Club, since we set it up, it's been very powerful in the sense we've had lots and lots of people from around the country and even around the world wanting to join. However, we're very strict in who is allowed to be in and who's not and who's allowed to post. So we have editors. Kate's one, I'm one. I think Jackie's the other one. Because we've had people wanting to become friends, and then when you look into them, they're actually a company that wants to sell their boccia equipment. You know, so we try and not that to happen, but it's a very good tool to use, and because lots and lots of other people are active to it, and I share it out on my own Facebook as well. But I think the biggest response we've had is through our WhatsApp group, you know, by sending messages out, and Kate quite often sends things about send us photographs, get ready to do this, you'll need this and that, the other. So we've got two strands. We did think about having a website at one point, but then we found that we didn't need a website because Facebook was very popular, easy to use, and so is WhatsApp as well. So in that sense, it's been a massive tool for us, and it's actually got new members coming to the club through the Facebook page. I don't know about anything you've got, Kate.
I think for me, one thing I'd like to take away is and I haven't consulted the boss yet, so is potentially when we go to competitions to be joining Facebook Lives, you know, so when people are coming off their court, taking the feedback, you know, you've just won this game 6-0, how does it feel? Or you narrowly missed out on this, you know, and getting their perspectives and getting their sort of live comments and feedback, and that sort of thing, and sort of taking it out and making it that our Facebook is a live thing. Whilst we're there, you can live that competition with us. You can live that training session with us.
Yeah.
And that sort of aspect of it.
Just to let you know, she only calls me boss because I'm the chair of the club and head coach, but she's in charge really.
George, I see we've seen through Boccia England that you guys use Twitter a bit more, and do you want to talk about how you use that and what you sort of put on there?
Yeah, I've kind of done it naturally from the start, and Access Sports said that was one of the main reasons that we grew so quickly, because it just came natural to me. But for me, it's more of a promotional tool. I've had a lot of media requests through that, which has then publicised the club, and we've had donations through that, support from companies. And obviously it helped when I had the Unsung Hero Award and my song with Rick Astley, which was obviously a huge promotion to do with Boccia and the club. But we've just got a lot more publicity from that. It's not so much, although, you know, we like to keep the members involved and put pictures of them doing stuff online. It's kind of more of a promotional tool for us, I think.
And the wider Boccia, it kind of encapsulates everything.
Yeah, to promote Boccia as a sport.
Still, in terms of the wider world of sport and the wider world, it's very, very niche sport. No one's heard of it really outside of the hardcore Boccia contingent. And if then a few more people get to hear of it because of our Twitter, then it's all good.
And again, just from what we've seen on social media, both clubs are really good at tagging in other organisations and tagging in partners and tagging in people that they're working with. So it's not just your network that's seeing it; it's going out to the wider network, which I think that really helps in sort of spreading the word as well. And one last question that has come in. Throughout all of your answers, you've been saying how you've been there for the athletes and you've been providing the support for the athletes, and it's been a positive impact for them. How have you guys, as the coaches, the lead coaches, the organisers of the clubs, the organisers of the sessions, how have you found the sessions and how has it helped you over the last 10 months? Because it works both ways, like being there for each other.
Well, for us at Notts, we've had a couple of separate sessions as coaches and committee, just to talk generally about the club and in general how we're getting on. Normally, annually, the coaches and that would go for a meal together to talk about how the season went and then look at the next season coming. Although we've not been able to do that this time, unless we have it at our own desks. I think having separate one is good sometimes, but we always talk about business as opposed to joining in the fun and celebrating with the players. And because we're so club and family oriented, in a sense, it makes sense that we actually join in with that. Even if sometimes it gets very loud, you know, especially when certain players start and it gets very loud, I just turn my volume down, you know, in that. So I don't know about your thoughts, Kate.
I think for me, it has just given me that structure. As someone that hasn't, I've been to work every day. Unfortunately, I'm classed as a key worker. It has given me that routine of, well, Thursday night is Boccia. And the world outside may be absolutely upside down, wrong way round and back to front. For me, it's been able to ground me and give me that thing of, that's my focus. Although I come home rather than driving half an hour over to a sports hall, I know that that's what I do on a Thursday night. And it is the enjoyment. And I know I've said it before, but it is that laughing. And there is certain people, you just cannot beat their laughs.
No, you can't.
And the jokes they have. And it's all the parents and carers that join in with the laughing and the joking. We are just one big family. And I think for us, it's just stayed that way. And I think we've been very lucky that we have had people that want to be and engage with us.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that the joining with the banter and they give us as much as we give them.
Oh,
you know.
yes.
But we know, we as coaches and that know that cut-off point of, banting, if somebody starts getting a bit too sort of loud, then we do, Kate will jump in very quickly and say, oi, let's calm it down a little bit, so, yeah. But it is all about that participation and about joining in, because I think we get as much out of it as what they do.
I'll be honest, we haven't really had any participation, so kind of feels like there hasn't been any support for us. If I'm honest, I think I've got more from Boccia England through the pandemic than anyone to do with my club, but that's fine. But that's just the way I feel.
And if you have, obviously you mentioned that you've been doing the challenges, George. Did that help you? So you've not necessarily had the interaction from the athletes, but in the way that Kate said that the club sessions or the virtual club sessions has helped her, have those challenges helped you?
Yeah, they helped me at the beginning, but then it became a bit monotonous, and I wanted to focus more on my personal boccia, which is a much higher level than those challenges. So me and Tom have been spending time just doing that, to be honest, because that's my goals. And when I'm not getting anything back, like Sandra said, it's a bit demoralizing when you're not getting any feedback from your members and stuff.
Initially it was it gave a bit of structure to our days, because it was kind of a lot that can stretch on the endless days, and but not getting much back kind of leaves you a bit dispirited. But your personal boccia has come on leaps and bounds since you started playing it daily. I mean, the shots you're pulling off now wouldn't have been able to do previously, so that's what you're getting out of it now.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
One more question has just come in. You've mentioned around, you might have seen it in the chat, around the athletes and recruiting, working with your athletes. Have you seen any sort of different engagement with volunteers or working with volunteers, gained or lost any volunteers or players during the pandemic? How's that sort of worked for you guys?
We've not lost anybody, although like Kate says, we've got a couple that aren't engaging, whether that's because they don't have the proper IT to be able to do that. But we do keep in touch. So there's one that I often email and ask how things are going and keeping up to date, and then I'll let people know that I've spoke to so-and-so. We've got another young lady who hasn't been with the club, although she's still on the books, hasn't been with us for about 14-15 months, but I keep in touch with the family and ask how she's getting on, and the reason why she hasn't been is because she had a big operation done, and I don't think it's gone quite right, so hopefully she will be back at some point. But as far as volunteers, one of our volunteer coaches, he's at university, but he does engage in the things with his brother on a Thursday night. And then we've got another one volunteer who's doing her studies, and because she's working from home, she's doing a lot of studying during the day and finds herself pretty tired by the evening. But again, through WhatsApp and through dropping a message via Messenger, that we're still engaging with them, and they're still interested and still want to be part of the club. So we've not lost anybody or gained anybody. We're sort of at that status quo, if that makes sense.
Yeah, George. Yeah. That the final question, Dan?
It was, yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks everybody for their fantastic answers. And that almost brings us to the end of our third Positive Development Advisory webinar about online club engagement. I hope that you have found this useful, and it has provided you with a few ideas about how you can engage members of all clubs over the next few months. For more information and further support with engaging members of all clubs online, please visit Sporting and Club Matters website. We have just posted a link for this in the chat box below. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank you for, I think, Kate for co-hosting, Dan for his tech support, and of course our fantastic panel, Kate, Pete, George, and Tom, who have all provided extremely insightful responses this evening. As I mentioned at the start of the webinar, this is the first of 5 webinars that have been delivered over the next few months between now and March, and I'll be releasing details of our third Boccia Development Advisory webinar on the social media very shortly. So stay tuned to our social media channel for more information. We will also be announcing on the social media a very exciting equipment offer for clubs to support your safe return to training. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow. It'll probably be in the afternoon sometime. We hope that you can join us tomorrow evening for our second Boccia Development Advisory webinar supporting positive mental health, where Haley Jarvis from Mine will be joining us to talk about how to support positive mental health when playing and volunteering in Boccia. If you have not done so already, you can book onto the webinar by clicking on the link that we have also posted in the chat box. Until then, I hope you stay safe. That's all from us tonight. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.